self-destruct in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is Cinco Squad. Cinco Squad. Cinco Squad.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 4 of Cinco Squad. We got a great show for y'all tonight. Here's what's going down. We're talking NBA buzzer beaters. We got the Lightning on the ice trying to three-peat. We're talking about fans taking it a little too far. We're going to be sprinkling a little bit of Stump the Squad in there. We might even show you what we're sipping on. And of course, gentlemen, because it's the NBA playoffs right now, you know we got to kick it off with what's going on. Mr. Joel Embiid trying to claim MVP. I guess the voting was decided before that game-winning shot in Toronto, but man, what a way to get sweet revenge on the Toronto Raptors. I'll be very honest. I called it. I didn't call a turnaround three, but I called a game winner, and I didn't call it by Joel Embiid either. What a shot. Guys, have you seen a center ever finish a game like that in the NBA?
That's what I was about to say. Is like, when's the last time you've ever seen a 7'2" do a turnaround fadeaway? Unless it was like Dirk. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Dirk used to do that. That was a signature. So, but he was, that was Dirk's move. But seeing a guy like him, nah, never.
I mean, yeah, because like the difference is main differences is like Dirk came up and we knew he was a shooter.
Right.
Like Embiid was known for his post play in college. And like he developed his 3-point shot as his college career and then pro career went on, when he wasn't out with the foot injuries.
Yeah. And when it comes down to it, could we ever see everyone? They were making a joke on like TNT, like could Shaq ever make that turnaround three? Could you imagine Kobe's face? He'd be like, "Oh."
So have you seen the trick shots he's made though? I swear he's become a better shooter in his old age. He has like a compilation of trick shots he's made in like his 40s.
I don't get it. Did you see what's the name of his boat? Like his son said the name of his boat. Does anyone remember that when his son made the name? Like name of his boat was like free throw. Oh, free throw because it's called free throw because it will never sink. But boys, what a great week of basketball. I mean, could you believe the Memphis Grizzlies? Jamie, you and I were talking when that game when they were coming back. That was nuts.
Yep,
crazy.
Twice. Timberwolves went on 2 big runs. And there's something about that team. I mean, we've been saying it, right? When the team is down their superstar and they can still win 25 of the 27 games he's out.
Yeah.
Ja was 16, 10, and 10. And it's weird. There's people that saying today, well, he had an off game. Okay, if you have 16, 10, and 10, that means some of those rebounds were offensive rebounds for second chance points. 10 assists equals at least 20 points. It probably equals 22 points. Right. And then he had 16 points. So if you account for over 40 points, and since when is getting a low-end triple-double on points and not a good game? It's crazy how we judge, I guess, the game in a way today, because if the numbers aren't glaringly, exotic, so to say, it's not a 25, 12, 13 triple-double stat line like LeBron gets, then it's not contributing enough for your team. It's nuts to me, but that team is going to be problems in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard a triple-double not be good. I mean, the opposite triple-double, like obviously like having like 10 turnovers and whatnot is not a good thing. But, I mean, he's the spark plug that they need in the playoffs. Honestly, Atlanta last year was Trae Young. This year it's John Morant for the Grizzlies. I mean, they were great without him, and that's not saying that they can win a playoff run, right? Because you need. What is the one thing we always say you need for a playoff run? You need depth and you need health. Yep. And if you don't have either of those, and we see this with the Phoenix Suns, we see this with a few other teams, they're the health. I mean, the Lakers over the last few years when they've been in the playoffs, even regular season, their health isn't there. So, for the Grizzlies, they could be a very scary team. And who picked them to go to the finals? Was it Pat?
Yes, he did.
Yes,
he picked Memphis. I could definitely see it. Them and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, if that's where it's like projected.
No, they play each other in the next round because they're the
next round. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that could be a very interesting series because Golden State's playing at a top tier level right now. Top tier.
Mike, did you see that game, Mike?
Yes.
Did you get a sense in that game?
Nothing else. Yes. I did.
No, hold on. Did you get a sense in that game? Idiot. Did you get a sense in that game that Jordan Poole is kind of becoming the heart and soul of that team, not so much just Draymond? Like, did you get that feeling out of it?
Yeah. So honestly, they're two different styles of play, but Poole is reminding me a lot of Iggy from that first Warriors championship.
Boom.
Yo, speaking of first Iggy, did you see that one hand thunder slam down the lane? I'm like, wait, is this Iggy from Philly? Like, what is going on, man?
Where was that in Miami? What the hell? Where was that in Miami? Come on, bro. Like, in Miami, he was like, oh, my back. I'm like, you're in South Beach, really? You're like, my back.
Speaking of South Beach, let me just tell you what I'm sipping on real quick here. Speaking of South Beach, I got myself a Bud Legit Chelada.
Cheetos?
Which has
Cheeto flavor.
Does look like a Cheeto beer.
It's like a premium light lager with natural flavors and vegetable juice for color, and it's mango, and it tastes freaking awful. So this will be the last sip I'm taking of this for the show.
I'm drinking our sponsor.
I was gonna say while we're on the subject,
Bang,
the official sports drink of Mark.
Official. Yeah, that plug.
Blue Raz. This actually is not bad. Actually, I had cotton candy last week. It was not. I don't like the cotton candy. I like the Star Blast. That's my favorite, but they didn't have it here. And I am here in a hotel room. I'm on the road. My wife and I decided to have a weekend together just to hang out and relax.
Wait,
and
you're married?
What? Oh crap!
Yeah, you might want to turn around and take a look.
I didn't know that.
It's not like
you guys on the beach.
Yes, sir. You saw the picture. I sent it to you earlier. I wish I would have sent it to the show so we could put it up. But yeah, right on the 9th floor, looking at the beach. It's a beautiful, beautiful sunset. I mean, it's a little cloudy today, but not too bad. Mike, what you got?
It looked like a beautiful sunset from where I am. I can't imagine it from an ocean view balcony. Yes, sir. Way to do it, man. Way to spoil the wife.
I have something that actually has a bit of a personal connection to John and I, which is I have an Ellicottville Brewing Company sugar cookie. And it, too, tastes awful, and it'll be the last time I ever have it.
But some things you shouldn't mix.
Yeah. But personal connection with Ellicottville for John and I, which this brewing company was near.
So guys, check this out, right? Before we go on tonight, you see how our names are at the bottom? These dudes are trying to cast me as Old Man Jay for the night. But if y'all have tuned in for our last four, Mike has had the most exotic beverages of anybody in the group. So we got to call Mike Exotic Mike because that name thing ain't working for him, all right?
It's Magic Mike.
If you want to throw Old Man Jay in there, I'll take it for the night.
Nah.
Jay in the house. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, buddy.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
No, Jamie, you gotta plug it in.
Huh?
For everyone that didn't know, Jamie was trying to log on and trying to do two things at once, and we were just making fun of him because he's the old one in the group. So, but he's got the youngest spirit, so you gotta love Jay.
He does.
Youngest spirit.
Yeah.
On a side note, at my bachelor party, he was the one that climbed up to the second floor from the balcony, and not one of us could have done it.
No. The thing is, not only could not one of us any of the rest of us have done it, none of us none of the rest of us would have attempted it.
Because we're not 6'4".
Well, yeah, that helped. I mean,
I couldn't reach.
Jamie, for context, you can't tell because we're sitting down, but Jamie is a good 5 inches taller than any of us.
Every kid wants to be Spider-Man once in their life, right? I had my moment.
Hey, I got asked if I was Spider-Man at work.
Just pops right up. Boop, there you go.
Yeah, no, it was easy. Easily done.
But yes, there is a lot of
basketball going on. Let's rewind because I really want to go back to this Golden State D3 lineup with Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond, Clay, and Steph. They are, I think it's now like plus 38 in 35 minutes together or something in the game so far. And if Wiggins is hitting that corner three, which he will be so wide open, it's almost like, are we even watching an NBA game right now? It's game over. It doesn't matter what the lead is. This team with those 4 guys on the floor that could hit from anywhere and Draymond facilitating them seems like the team people were saying, let's wait until Golden State is fully healthy. Let's see what's going on. Let's wait and see if Golden State could do that thing. I'm like, what?
But my biggest thing with the Golden State
is click in the playoffs, and it's clicking, bro.
But like my biggest thing with Golden State is they were like, why is everyone so like? In my opinion, why is everyone so surprised? Because they were clicking when Steph was in the lineup before. Yeah. It's not like they were like struggling. Yeah. They struggled when he left the lineup, like we thought. But I mean, ultimately, and this is going to sound probably bad, but he got hurt at the right time. With like a month left in the season, they already were in the playoffs, and they are going to be a top seed. And he got maybe an extra month worth of rest. I mean, they always say the playoffs is like another regular season. So, when it comes down to it, I mean, I think that's, real confusing to me is when everyone was like, I can't believe the Warriors are playing such great. Well, they were playing great basketball before. They were number 1 in the Western Conference at one point before Phoenix took over and Jamie's beloved Phoenix. So,
when my beloved Suns went on an 18-game win streak after starting 1-3, yes.
Can we talk about the Suns for a second and about how much of a turnaround this whole last maybe 72 hours have been for them? They not only lost to New Orleans. What are they down 2-0? They're on 2-0, right? Or 1-1?
No, 1-1.
Are you sure?
1-1.
Okay, so it's 1-1 back.
Sure.
1-1. Yeah, I don't question. Never mind. I shouldn't question Jay on his Suns. So it's 1-1. Devin Booker's out 4 weeks. So I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Like, what do you guys think? Is about Devin Booker being gone? Do you feel like they can, step up as a team, or do you feel like it's like? I mean, they lost Devin Booker. He's 28 points per game in the playoffs right now, shooting 57% from 3 in 2 games.
I mean, Mike, your boy Cam Johnson might step up.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's definitely a blow to them, but I think they have the depth to step up and win the series. I think Cam Johnson of the North Carolina Tar Heels I think he'll step up. Mikal Bridges will step up. You get more. Hopefully, you get more out of Ayton, get more out of CP3. I do think they're a deep enough team. Now, we were talking, and it's no disrespect to the Pelicans, but let's face it, they're in not exactly a rebuild, but they're getting their kind of stage of their franchise. If we were talking about Phoenix playing right now, Golden State or Memphis, I'd be a little more worried because those are teams with a lot more firepower overall than especially Golden State, I would say.
Well, here, I'm making a bold prediction right now. New Orleans is going to take this in 6.
Ooh. That's a really bold prediction. And I mean, it's probably fair to say because I was talking to John about this earlier this week, and the best player left in that matchup right now is Brandon Ingram.
Yes.
Brandon Ingram is playing at an elite level. He's taken over on the offensive end, really giving the Suns everything they can handle. And then what's happening is the players around him, these young cats, are playing with the confidence that he's exuding. And I'll tell you one thing about that team that might get even scarier, and John and I were debating it last night, is they might get about 12 to 13 minutes from Zion in this series, which might end up giving them that edge. So it's a bold prediction. But when you lose your superstar, it's really hard to recover from that in mid-series. If you went into the series planning to play without him, and having a couple games under your belt without Devin being your crutch, fair enough. But Devin's been that crutch. He's stepped up more than anything else. The most disrespected player in the NBA to not even get MVP consideration this year. So you've lost an MVP-type player in round one against a confident young team that has nothing to lose, and Zion might come back. You might be right, bro.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, and I said this to Jay, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the Ben Simmons coming back because you lose continuity with the team. And I understand what you're saying, that it's a different type of player and stuff like that. I just don't see Zion coming in and not being in game shape. At the end of the day, they're in the peak game shape because they're in the playoffs. You have to be in peak game shape in order to compete. And I understand playing 11, 13 minutes and everything like that. But, it's ultimately, what my thought process behind it is saying they're playing well without him. Why would you go and mess that up if – but I see your point, Jay. But why would you mess that up if they're playing well?
Bro, desperate times. Look, it's two different things.
But if he was playing all year, that's what I'm saying.
It's two different things.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
But that's what it is, right? But it's two different scenarios. Desperate times call for desperate measures. So I understand the Nets' desperation slightly more and their panic because they're so much smaller and less physical than Boston right now. That having a 6'9" body, even though he might be 75%, helps somewhat because he's long. He might get, he might at least get a hand up on Jalen, and Jalen won't have so many. Right now, Kevin Durant's playing high school type basketball. It's pretty appalling to watch the
playoff KD. I told you in the beginning.
We know Kyrie's not a good defender. So I get it more for the Nets, but I'm with you a little bit on Zion. But like I told you yesterday, if they can get Ingram out and plug Zion in and then feed the offense through him and have some open shooters, hit some shots, and really start to get, and CJ is going to feed off of him, I think, more than anybody else and benefit from it. Then I feel what you found is the opportunity to keep scoring the ball when Ingram's out the game because CJ becomes your number one. He also becomes more of a physical threat down low. Defense goes this way, CJ pops that way, and then all of a sudden you have open shots. It will complement the team to have him in there at those times. Whether or not, and I tell you what, their coach is doing a heck of a job, has been. The guy was tutored by Monty for a long time. He came from that Phoenix Suns team that made the run last year. So don't you think he knows that roster? I mean, this is. Yeah,
I think he does. But ultimately it's a we'll see type of thing. If he plays tonight, we'll see how he does. I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's, you and I have been talking. I want to get Mike's point on this, and we'll move on to, the most important sport, hockey. So
there we go.
So go ahead, Mike. What's your take on it?
I will before we go on to the more important sport, which is hockey. I will give you two predictions. One of which may be bold. One I don't think is bold. Ben Simmons will come back in Game 4. He will further disjoint any chemistry or play calling that the Nets have. Boston wins the series, and Zion Williamson will never play for the New Orleans Pelicans again.
Wow. Bold.
He's supposed to be playing tonight, though. And so has Ben. I like your pick. I don't know if you saw the update, but I think Ben Simmons is.
Ben Simmons is supposed to play. Last I knew, Zion isn't. The team does not want Zion to play.
Oh, okay. Well,
Zion wants to play.
We should give a little bit of credit to the new budding stars of teams that nobody was really saying. I mean, everybody knew Jordan Poole, most threes in the NBA since the All-Star break. But talk about Brandon Clark stepping up for the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, this guy has come out and talk about Jalen Brunson looking like Luka, averaging 36 a game in their 2 wins.
Where did he come from?
I mean, that's the cool thing about the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs, when the lights are on and the stage is brightest, you're going to find players like that stepping up. Brunson is a championship type guy. He came from a program. He won a national championship. He knows what it's like to make deep runs in that kind of format. But Brandon Clark, man, that guy is taking over games. And I'll tell you what, there'll be guys, Jordan Poole himself, that should be in consideration for most improved player of the year. They've carried their teams. It's kind of unfair to me that Ja is in that bracket because Ja was playing at such a high level last year, but I get it, his first All-Star appearance. But this is fun. This is a fun playoffs right now. I think too many people are writing off Katie and Kyrie too soon. I hope Simmons can come back and the two of them get their own redemption and win the next two in Brooklyn to make the series interesting, because I want it to go 7. But we'll see what happens and whether these guys come back. And you guys will be posting during the week too, so make sure to check us out on our Instagram page as well, because we'll be putting some updates on there and giving you our opinions on whether we think it was a terrible idea or, like I said, maybe Zion is smart, but Ben Simmons ain't. We'll see what plays out in the NBA. But what a weekend to come. We got 3 games tonight, 4 games tomorrow, 4 games on Sunday. And I really hope things are okay in Atlanta right now. We got a pretty scary update before the game. Let's hope it's not anything serious.
Yeah, hopefully it's nothing serious. If I was a player, I'd be very timid to go out on the court. For sure. But yeah, I mean, now we go on to the real sport, which is hockey, NHL, as you can tell. Yes, the Lightning three-peat.
Let's go.
Last night, the Lightning defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs 8-1. Scored 4 goals in the second, and 4 goals in the eighth. In the third. Eighth
period. Wow.
And they not only did they win, they're on their way for their redemption of their third in a row. Steven Stamkos, he broke the all-time record for points, and that was held by Martin St. Louis. So hats off to him and Steven Stamkos.
Kucherov also got his 600 assists, but you know who was keeping that puck because the assist was to Stamkos to break that record.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Can we get 2 pucks?
So can we just split this in half and make a clone?
So the NHL season is pretty much almost over. The Western Conference is still kind of up in the air, and then the Eastern Conference is pretty set.
Really? Is it?
It is. I mean, they still don't have a lot of people set for playoffs yet. Yeah, I mean, I literally just looked today, and we still got Edmonton, Los Angeles, Vegas, and Vancouver still not clinched. We have
but I'm more talking about the team that's been dominating all season long. There's been one team that's pretty clear the best.
Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers.
I call it Colorado.
Well, Florida's got the better record. They're 118 points right now.
But they play with Tampa on the east side, don't they?
Yeah, they're the number one team in the country right now.
The favorite out of the West is definitely Colorado, but they were the favorites last year and they got embarrassed.
Yeah, they got poo-pooed on early.
Yeah.
We all know who the real Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, here we go.
The New York Rangers.
Mike's Rangers, who him and I didn't think this was going to happen. I mean, Mike,
not at all.
Mike being negative Nancy was like, I don't think they're going to be. They're just going to play for draft picks.
I didn't say that. I said they would be like 8 points out of a playoff spot because it's a young team. Honestly, like their top 6, aside from Chris Kreider, who's like 29 or 30 right now. Their top 6 forwards are like the average age of them is like 26.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, like a 24-year-old. There's Panarin, but Panarin's like only 28. The team kind of all came together this year. The big question was going to be the D-core because that's a very young part of the team, and goaltending because Igor Shesterkin and Alexander Georgiev neither had been a full-time starter before.
That's a fun name to say.
Shesterkin. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shesterkin.
We call him Shesty. His nickname with the fans is Shesty. But yeah, he might win the Vezina. He might be the best goalie in the league right now. Better than.
Well, I tell you what, playing with those young guys have to be making a lot of rookie errors, and he has to make up for that a lot of the time. I would imagine. There's been a
games that he's had to make 50 saves in, but
yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy because I don't watch the NHL as heavy as I would like to, but I do catch a lot of the Lightning games for living in Florida, Jay, as you know. And one of the things that I noticed with the Lightning, and the one thing I love about John Cooper is how much he pretty much it revolves players through the system. He starts them in the farm system in Syracuse, and then kind of a lot of the guys on the team I remember interning with and seeing them. I mean, I tell a story all the time. I remember sitting there and, you know, my first day of interning. Yeah, Dad, go away.
There we go.
My dad's a diehard New York Rangers fan, so.
All right, Pops.
Speaking of parents,
Mom with a smiley face. That was towards the hockey moments.
Not towards the
NBA.
Not at all.
But no, I mean, you know, that's where I've seen a lot of teams start to building with. I don't see really a team that can compete with Tampa this year, in my opinion. I've watched Carolina play. I've watched Toronto play. I've watched Florida play. They're a lethal regular season team, and I say this: they're like the team. Like Florida reminds me of the San Jose teams when I was younger, like the teams that used to be dominant, and then all of a sudden they just in the playoffs. So.
But they played the Lightning tougher than anybody.
Very much so during the regular season.
They were the toughest series for the Lightning. The Lightning, it was a dogfight for. I think they beat them in 7, and that game 7 was pretty interesting up until the beginning of the second period, and the Lightning kind of started to take over that game. But let's go back to where we started this conversation. You know, fittingly, they beat Toronto, who's the only team in NHL history to three-peat twice. And now Tampa's flirting with something that hasn't been done in over 60 years, I think. It's unprecedented the way the NHL has like the game is not where it once was, where players are staying together for 5, 6, 7 years. But the Lightning have sort of created the culture and got everybody to buy in to say, like, hey, let's stick around and make this dynasty happen. They fell short for 2 or 3 years in a row. Then they win the bubble year. They win last year. And all of a sudden, I think they have a core of guys, like you said. It doesn't matter what seed they play from. We've seen teams play from low seeds in the playoffs probably more than any other sport in the NHL and still dominate. So,
yeah, look at the line that they got rid of.
You guys are the hockey guys. Let me know. Is it going to happen or what?
I say they have the best chance. To. I think they have the most complete team. Plus, you know, I never doubt Andrei Vasilevsky, no matter what his percentages are right now. That guy is my wife Malin always says, like, he has creepy eyes because, like, if you ever see him when he goes to the camera on him, he's just like he's like locked in. So yeah. I say they have the best chance. I don't think they'll get it done, but they have the best chance out of all the teams. My Stanley Cup favorite right now would have to be the Avalanche. I think they've dumped and gained a lot of players, but you know, that's my pick right now. But Mike, what you think? I know you're shaking your head, and I know you're picking your Rangers.
It's just no, I'm not picking the Rangers at all. I'm gonna take a step. I know I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna be real and be a hockey fan right now.
Mike's
the Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in sports, bar none.
Agreed.
Like, I know we can debate it on some show if you want, but I can't hear a debate for anything else.
I agree. I play hockey.
Like I said, is unprecedented. It hasn't happened in, like, I think, over 60 years. I don't think it's happening this time because I think for once, the first time in these 3 years, Tampa is not going in as the best team. I think they're the 4th best team. I think Florida's better. I think Carolina's better, and I think Colorado's better.
Okay.
And I think every team this year has something that could limit them. Mm-hmm. But, like, I agree with you, John, that Colorado may be the most complete team besides them, and they're just on a roll. They're hungry because they were supposed to win it last year. They were thought to at least make the Cup the year before that, and they didn't do either of those things.
Right.
They're hungry. Nathan McKinnon's finally healthy again. He's hungry. Landeskog wants it. Mikko Rantanen wants it. I think Carolina is Carolina, to take it to the Rangers, because I can speak as a Rangers fan. I think Carolina right now is where the Rangers are going to be in like 2 years. Mm-hmm. They were 2 years ago. They surprised a lot of people with being a young team that was flashy, made big plays, got good goaltending, and, you know, made a run but didn't make it all the way. Carolina now is developed those young guys. They've gotten the right pieces in place for how they want to run the team. And I don't know, Florida, I think, is what last year's Carolina was, which I think a really good regular season team that's probably going to make at least the second round, but I don't know if they're going to make it. But yeah, I would probably take Colorado at this point.
I agree with you.
I just think it's plus the number of games that Tampa has had to play winning those cups.
We said it with the Penguins when they won it back to back.
Oh, yeah.
I said that after they won the Stanley Cup. I was like, they probably won't make. Yeah, Blackhawks too. Like, it's tough.
Kings,
like, I agree with Mike that it is one of the hardest. And the reason why I say this is because hockey involves a lot of hitting and in 20-minute periods, playing overtimes. I mean, in the bubble year, didn't Tampa go to 6 overtimes?
In at least one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and
a lot of hockey.
I mean, basketball, I'm not going to argue like that other sports don't have it tough because ultimately football, they play single elimination. Baseball, there's no really hitting. They play 162 games, but, most of the guys are shut down if they're made to playoffs by the last 30 games or so.
Right.
Basketball is contact and it is a lot of wear and tear. It is. It's a lot of jumping and moving and everything like that. But I just think hockey is one of the toughest sports because you're nonstop getting hit, taking pucks to the chest, taking pucks off the legs. And the goaltenders, you got to give them a freaking resort spa afterwards for a month to try to relax. So.
I'm not a hockey guy, but I can't go against my Bolts. Bolts in 3. All right, there we go. Believe in Vegas. I'll tell you what, if Vegas misses the playoffs, it's going to be the most disappointing thing to not see that game intro.
Vegas might end up missing the playoffs now because Lehner was keeping them in some games. So,
so the Bolts get it done. Dynasty, all right. It may springboard your Rangers to be the next dynasty. Who knows? All right. But the Bolts definitely are the new age dynasty. They have made hockey a thing in Florida. That's pretty incredible to do that. Florida, the football country, Florida, they made hockey the thing. Even though we have Tom Brady winning Super Bowls, it's still the biggest ticket in town to get right now. They're going to have Mike Tyson come in. He's going to be part of the game intro. He's going to beat some knuckleheads like he did on the airplane. You guys saw that. We've been sharing the video throughout the whole time. And this, gentlemen, is the moment where we go into the knucklehead fans portion of our show this evening. And we saw it tonight in Atlanta. What the heck? What the heck are you doing? We saw it on the plane with the fan heckling Mike Tyson. Who the heck would even think that's a good idea? All right?
Not even like Mike Tyson.
We've been seeing these kids do that weird thing. I'm not even going to make the gesture and do it. If you guys see it, it makes no sense.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There's people. Look, it's not as bad as it is overseas in soccer because racism is alive in a lot of these places. So I'm not going to compare, and we're going to leave that argument out. We're talking about what the heck is going on with American sports in America.
No idea. Like, I just don't get it. I get you can be a dedicated fan. All 3 of us are dedicated fans. We go at it with each other. But at no point, I mean, I have a few, the Dodgers incident opening day when they played the Giants a few years ago, when the kids watched his father get killed over a baseball game that the guys had nothing but they paid to go there. Mm-hmm. So you're getting mad because your team lost?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't have any time for fans like that. I don't have any time to talk with them. I remember the last time I'll ever go to a football game because Pat and I went to a Buccaneers game, and this guy behind me decided that it was good enough that instead of enjoying the game with his son and I believe his wife, because there were 3 of them, he wanted to heckle Pat and I the whole game, right behind us, all the time. It's just, really, like, is it really that big of a deal? I get you're a fan, and I get there's some banter. Like I went to the Georgia-Michigan game, the Georgia-Michigan ass whooping.
The Georgia game in which Michigan also played, yes.
Michigan got invited.
They were there
to show up.
Yeah, invitational.
Yeah, they were the dummies that just stand there, just like they weren't dummies, but you know what I mean, like the tackling dummies. They were already down 30. They were down 30-0 at half, and one of the fans comes up to me and goes, "Man, we're kicking your butt."
Yep.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
I noticed.
Anything else?
But that's not that bad, right? I mean,
that's not that bad, but it's just like that dumb.
Right? Georgia hadn't won. I don't know last time. thank goodness the Braves won, because I can't imagine how Georgia fans would have been if they didn't have a little taste of something before that. Right. So, they were desperate for anything. Georgia hadn't had any teams, or state of Georgia had nothing going on for them for almost 30, 40 years. So, fans have held it in for that long. I think that's to be expected. But like you said, the fanatical side of people getting to the point where their teams mean so much to them that you take it that far as to want to take a man's life because he's wearing the other team's jersey. He didn't even say anything to you. And he's with his son. I mean, like, how does sports turn you into that much of an evil monster? And some of it may ride on the fact that, I don't know if we've seen this increase in violence and this increase in fans having this privilege to yell things at NBA players or other players that are close to on the floor saying, hey, I took you guys tonight, so let's make sure you cover the 7.5. Like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, right. Like, you're not going to show up in any restaurant and be like, hey, I heard your chef's the best chef. Make sure you go in there and tell him I'm out here and make sure you pick the best freaking steak for me because I'm dropping a $40 tip for you, and make sure you put it like, shut the up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Fans have now almost connected themselves to the game in a way where they feel like they have the right to say things to players because they're so much more connected to the game, whether they're betting on it, whether they have the season ticket holder that feels entitled because he's paying $10,000 to be there. I don't get it, Mike. How do you feel about it?
It's insane. And you know what? When we first brought this topic up earlier in the week when we were discussing with each other what we wanted to talk about this week, the one that came up in my recent memory the most was the 2011 Vancouver riots. The Canucks lost the Stanley Cup to the Bruins, and the fans decided to then go out and riot and nearly burn down the town. And it's just like between that and like the lady that chained herself to the backboard and like.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, and I get, some people saying she's not a fan, but she spent money to go into the game, right? So she said, and NBA playoff tickets aren't cheap. No tickets and nowadays are cheap. Right. None. Even regular season. I go to a hockey game and it's still $130 a ticket on average. So you're telling me NBA? I actually tried to go to a Heat game, the Heat Atlanta game this week. I tried to go there, and the ticket was like $300-400. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money to me. Like, to go act like an idiot and chain yourself.
That's a moolah.
So go to chain yourself to a backboard. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And I guess she was trying to make a stance. Like, people don't go to games. I don't go to games to make stands. I go to games to enjoy and de-stress from my work life, that type of stuff. I go, that's why I love sports, and that's why I love doing this stuff with you guys, because ultimately this is something that we love, but we don't love to the fact that we're going to either put ourselves in harm's way, put someone else in harm's way, or, be an idiot, in that aspect.
Yeah.
Right. But
we're not going to defame anybody's character too, unless they show themselves.
Correct.
Like, for instance, if we were covering this show when they had the brawl in the Palace, we probably would have had a lot to say about how that went down and how the athletes reacted. But at the same time, the fans were just as dumb and the fans were just as irrational. And that was, both sides were knuckleheads when something like that went down. We've probably never seen anything like that in sports. And I hope we never see anything like that ever again in the history of sports. Because that was pretty scary. I mean, there was some casualties in the way where it could have been a lot worse off both ways. But
go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna say, like, the one thing that I never understood is that these guys are professional athletes, and what I mean by that is that they are in the peak shape. I mean, Jamie, you're an Olympic athlete. You know what that peak shape is, so you know what that is. And you're some guy who you may work out or not. You sit there and you're trying to challenge. Let's just say they try to challenge one of the football players. This dude's 6'6", 6'7", 355 pounds, and you want to challenge him? Like, I don't condone violence, but like, come on, man, really? Like,
if you're gonna fight, be smart.
You're 5'10", 210, really? Like, this guy will just boom.
If you're gonna fight, be smart about it.
Do you realize that?
But,
go ahead. Sorry.
If your claim to fame is the dude Tyson knocked out on an airplane, and that gets you 15 seconds of your 15 seconds of claim to fame, Because we live in this Twitter culture right now, we live in this, let's throw it out there and let's keep making a joke of it instead of, did you learn your lesson? Nobody's going to learn their lesson. They make memes out of everything. It's like any point, you can't even make a point of something to make it an example to young kids now. It's like, we'll just make a mockery out of it. Carey flipping the bird to the Boston fans because who knows what they were saying to him. I get that. Some people are personal and they feel they hurt, they feel a bit hurt that Carey betrayed them. But I mean, did you think he was going to be loyal after what he did in Cleveland? You got to wise up. Come on. You can't think he was going to be loyal to you guys. Even though they had a championship caliber roster, it would be interesting to see him playing there now, to be honest. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, like with Kyrie, I mean, and it goes back, and I made a point this week, and it's like if any of us were to, move on and go somewhere else, we don't, in that aspect, we don't sit there and, we don't, we promise the world, but if we move on, we move on. And so why are we holding these athletes? Do you think it's right we hold these athletes to the same standard? Like, if they want to move on after their 2 years of their contract or whatever, does it really matter? Like, they got to do what's best for them and their family at the end of the day.
Right.
Just like you would, and just like you would.
Sports is not the 80s dynasties. If you played for Boston, you never went anywhere else.
Correct.
If you played for LA, you never went elsewhere. It's not the 90s with the Yankees. If you're a part of the Yankees, the only way you're leaving is if they trade you because they need somebody else. I mean, it's not the same. The teams aren't planning to have a core of players together for 10 years. We're far removed from that. So fans shouldn't be blaming the players. More than ever, analytics has become how managers and owners go ahead and pick their chess pieces year by year. It's not necessarily I have the best character individual and I want to ensure I stay where I want this person to be here forever. And there's the exception. There was the Brady for almost 20 years. There's the Aaron Rodgers. Who's You have your one-offs, but it's not happening in clusters anymore. And we as fans have to accept that. All of us have watched every sport, all of us. That's why we do this show. We're passionate about sports on the whole. Mike has players that he's believed in and loved as being a part of his team. Same thing you, John. Same thing with me. I'm loyal to them, even if they jump ship. I'm still loyal to them.
Mike has a personal. Mike, tell your story about your personal take on that. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about.
Which part?
What do you mean though? The Ryan McDonough story.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay, so quick story is that for the longest time, I didn't have a Rangers jersey. It was about the only jersey that I didn't have. So finally, I asked for Christmas, and my mom got it for me for Christmas. It was a Ryan McDonough jersey, complete at that time with the captaincy because they had just named him captain like 2 years earlier. It was very exciting. It was awesome. I still have it. It's a great, like, authentic sweater, like exactly the kind of, you know what I mean? It's not like the laser printed ones. It's like the knit one with, it's like real, like, game style jersey.
Classic.
It just happened to be the season in which 2 months later at the trade deadline in February, they traded Ryan McDonough to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I had the jersey for 2 months before he was not on the team anymore. It's not the worst, though, because my cousin got a McDonough jersey 2 weeks before the trade deadline when they dealt him, because they weren't talking, even 2 weeks before the deadline that year, they weren't talking about trading McDonough. But, like, they went on a slump and they just got rid of him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's
a little disappointing.
Now American Express has that jersey insurance. But, talk about biggest, as we're talking about this glum and gloomy letdown of fans, one of the biggest biggest letdown in sports. I found this, this week, and I just saw it on Instagram, and I was like, this would be a good way to, good segue into the week before the draft, the biggest letdown in sports. So we're going to go through, and each of us are going to give one or maybe two that you guys have, why you think it's the biggest letdown. I already know Mike's, and Jamie I'm very up in the air with, because I think it's going to be a soccer one. But Jay, go ahead. What's yours?
Mike, start us off because I know how much you love talking about it. You know, I love rubbing this in like salt in a wound that's just being cut by.
I have three represented on the screen right now.
Go on, Mike.
I have three represented on the screen right now. So we've been over what happened in 2004. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about what happened.
You got to talk about it. You just asked
I don't got to talk about it.
You just talked about it. You got to talk about it.
All right, Yankees blew a 3-game lead. Red Sox.
Huh? Sorry,
Yankees
Grandpa
won.
Jay's having a hard time
Yankees-
hearing you, bro.
The Yankees blew a 3-game lead in the ALCS in 2004 and lost to the Red Sox. Now, aside from that, there was that team behind my head absolutely getting demolished in the national championship game when I was a young boy and very excited. But the one that really came to my mind when you first brought it up, John, was this team. This team in 2016.
Oh, my God.
That was the biggest letdown ever because I was so excited. 2016, national championship game. Marcus Page hits a
Wild.
2-3 that he wasn't even shooting. He was trying to pass, and he just happened to hit the shot, what became a shot. Yeah, pretty much. To take the lead with 3 seconds left. And then Chris Jenkins, his dumb face, went down the court and hit a game-winning 3. And I went from, and anybody can ask John because he was in the room with me.
I've never seen Mike go from like boom, boom. Like
I went from the highest of highs to the bottom floor, lowest of lows. I was depressed after that happened.
I remember I looked back. We were watching the game, and I looked back, and Mike walks out of the common room we were at school, and he just leaves. Literally just left.
I really honestly did not say goodbye to anybody because I was not.
He's like yes, and then all of a sudden I heard the door slam, and I'm like, where'd he go? He just left.
I just walked out, and you got to imagine, Jay, that my apartment on campus is across campus. So I had a good 15-minute walk in the middle of March.
Wearing North Carolina gear.
Wearing North Carolina gear, just reflect silently in the dark about what just happened. And I could tell you, I didn't say anything when I got back to the Garden apartment. I said nothing to anybody. I just went to bed. My roommate was like, "What happened?"
I am so lonely.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what's yours?
What about yours?
All right, so when I in my young days, when I was in high school in St. Lucia, I was a big Seattle Supersonics fan, and then I became a huge Penny Hardaway fan. And I saw Penny start to take over the league with this dude named Shook. And the two of them were one of the most dynamic duos in modern NBA history for sure. And he was keeping they were keeping the center point guard thing going, right? Coming off of Magic and Kareem. And, we didn't really see that with the Bulls. So we saw a tint of the 80s coming back. And I was like, man, this is exciting basketball. You got 3D Dennis Scott. You got Nick Anderson. I got Horace Grant playing. That team was awesome. They lost 2 games that entire season at home. They won 64 games or something. They demolish everybody in the East, and then they meet Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and Mario Elie, KJ in the NBA Finals, and they got swept thanks to Nick Anderson, who couldn't hit free throws in Orlando. I watched those free throws go clank, 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 clank. Mind you, he's an 86% free throw shooter. Clank, clank. I'm like, he can't miss them all. And his career literally ended that night. The Rockets go on to sweep the Magic. And when I go to school the next day, my friends in class brought broom heads, and they're coming up to my desk going, sweep, and they're literally brushing my desk with a broom head. And all day long, dudes are walking around because I guaranteed an Orlando win. They're walking around behind me, shaking brooms, making fun of me for the entire day. But I tell you what's a bigger letdown than that.
What's that?
Michael Jordan leaving the game and not having a chance to see if they would have won 8 straight. As a huge fan of the NBA, not so much an MJ fan, I loved his style of play and his tenacity. Like I said, I was a Sonics and Magic fan, but watching him play was magical. and having him walk away in his prime like that, I felt like we'll never be cheated more ever in sports.
That's like a silent letdown.
To never know if it would have happened.
Agreed.
I mean, I love the dream as well. I'm happy he got his because I think he's one of the greatest players of all time, and it was great that he won as well as Drexler. And so cool they played in Houston together as well when they're at uni. So such a cool way to like win a couple of titles together. But man, was that every time I think back on that, I just shake my head like the entire sports world got cheated of maybe the greatest athlete of all time in his prime.
Agreed. We were talking about that the other day. For sure. Well, I think mine, I have a few, and I was writing them down from, and I didn't see this one. The Greg Norman 6-stroke loss in the Masters was probably one of the worst. I wasn't watching it live, but I do have to say that's pretty bad.
The fact that it happened, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
And he was the number one player in the world.
Number one player in the world, and that was sad. The Fab Five, losing, and I mean the Weber timeout, obviously, and lost to North Carolina. So yeah, I'm like, okay.
Not that I was alive.
The 04 Yankees, obviously is one of the biggest disappointments. And Jay, I talked to you about this last night. The reason why is because in that time in my life, I was about 12 years old, and like baseball and hockey was like my thing. Baseball, hockey. So when baseball was in season, I was like all baseball, watching the Yankees. And I missed 4 games that whole season watching. And I remember, going to school. Me and Pat and I went to school together. Pat and I would be like, yeah, we're going to win it. We're good. Like a couple of our Boston friends. And then, man, I literally was begging my mom not to go to school the next day. And she's like, no, you're going to school. I'm like, damn. But that's not my biggest. My biggest letdown is probably something that you probably wouldn't have thought of, but probably Tiger Woods. And now he's back on the high, right? So he's back in, the top, being back into the top athlete. But man, when is the last time that a player has gone that long at that type of height, in any sport like that? There's been a couple, Tom Brady being one of them, but I would say Tiger Woods let down in 2010, when, and I'm not talking about the injuries, obviously. Everything that kind of happened afterwards, that was, I would say, would be the biggest letdown. Just because after, he just never was the same. He never was the fiery Tiger that we see on Sundays where, if he's within 2 or 3 of the lead, watch out. He's going to make that run. So I would say he's probably the biggest letdown. But ultimately, he's also probably one of the best comebacks in a sense because of how he's developed himself as a man, developed himself as a person, and built his legacy back up, not only for himself, but for his children and, and his family. So that would be mine.
Can I give an honorable mention here? And Mike is definitely going to disagree with this, but these 18-0 New England Patriots, with 3 minutes left, it's looking like we're finally not going to have to deal with these damn Miami Dolphin players popping champagne every year because they're the only perfect team that's ever been associated with finishing a season without a loss in NFL history. And I was like, I hate Miami fans. I'm sorry. Miami fans, if you're watching, too bad. All right? I hate them. They're fickle. All right? Get them out of here. All right? Get out of here. And these fans was celebrating like they won the Super Bowl. Like, get the hell out of number one. I was personally disappointed just as a sports fan wanting to see finish the job. You know what I mean? Finish the season perfect. But Mike might not have been happy. You were right there with those Dolphin fans.
I was ecstatic. I was so happy. You don't understand. I was so happy. Now I just need a Rangers Cup. That is one of my that's one of my favorite sports moments of my life so far, at least. But you know what else is one of my favorite things, guys?
Talk to me.
It's trivia. And I think it's time. I think it's time to try to
stump the squad.
All right.
Yeah, boy. So if you guys have been tuned into our show, here's how it's going to go down. In Stump the Squad, we ask each other questions, and we're going to try and stump each other. You can bet 2 or 1 point, and the person with the highest point total at the end is the winner of the week, and they get to rant about whatever the hell they want. So, John's won once.
Twice.
Mike's won twice. Mike's won once. And maybe it's time for Grandpa Jay. So let's get ready to stump. All right, gentlemen. I'm going to lead it off this week.
All right.
So,
Two.
you got to love the magic of the NBA playoffs. 2 points to both of you.
Yes, sir.
Got to love the magic of the NBA playoffs. Embiid hits a unbelievable shot to win the game. So it had me thinking, let's look into the lures of basketball history.
Oh, no.
And let's see who's hit the most game-winning shots in NBA history. So, gentlemen, this athlete has hit 9 game-winning shots in their entire career.
Kobe.
Is it Kobe Bean Bryant? Is it Larry Bird? Is it Mike? Or is it Magic?
Me?
So Kobe Bean Bryant,
Mike Tisano.
Larry Bird,
Well, clearly it's me.
and I guess we do have to say who MJ is, right? Because we might have some young fans. Michael Jordan.
Yes,
Or
Michael
is it-
Jackson. Yes.
Or is it
Jackson
Magic?
for a while.
Urban Johnson.
I would say Kobe. No, in the playoffs, you said?
In NBA
Wait.
history.
And
Like,
total
total.
career. Total
No,
career.
like regular season and playoffs?
Yes.
Like the most game-winning shots in NBA history, period. With all seasons
All
included.
games.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with Kobe. It's probably not right.
I'm going to go with Bird.
Yeah, that
Nice.
was my first pick.
So Kobe Bean Bryant has the second most with 8. How can you guys not think it was the great Michael Jordan? Come on, guys. Come on.
Damn,
MJ
Mike.
with 9, Kobe with 8. That's 0 points because I have stumped the squad in round 1.
No, it's -2. We got -2.
You have
Oh,
0.
yeah, even better.
You have 0.
I get the rant. I got 0.
Good start. Good start.
All right, who's next, Jay?
Mike, take it away.
Okay, so it's actually a good segue because as we are okay, go on.
2.
Those.
Two, of course. As we will continue to dive into NBA history,
Mhm.
I felt that since we talked about some overzealous fans, I'd like you guys to tell me how many players were suspended after the Malice at the Palace. Was it 6, 7, 8, or 9?
The latter. No,
Yes.
I think it was 9.
7.
John is back to 0, but I'm sorry, Jamie. It was 9.
Oh shoot! Yeah, nice.
It was Ron Artest, Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal, Ben Wallace, Anthony Johnson, Reggie Miller, Chauncey Billups, Derek Coleman, and Eldon Campbell.
I forgot Coleman was involved in it too. Yeah. I got 6 of them, and I figured let me guess one more.
It was 9.
Go Orange.
So, all
We
right,
don't
the
have
standings right now. I got -2, which means I'm not going to win once again. John's at 0. Mike's at, well, I have a chance.
No, we
Yeah,
can
that's
tie.
We all have a
We can
chance.
all
We
tie.
can all
A
tie.
three-way tie, maybe. Maybe a
Okay,
three-way tie.
So
Yeah, I got those.
so this one, since we're on the week before the NFL draft, I wanted to do kind of like a trivia for that. So,
Okay.
which 2 teams are tied with the most number 1 draft picks? So you're gonna have to listen pretty carefully because it's 2 teams per like A, B, C, D. So A is the Browns and the Dolphins. B is the Seahawks and the Texans. C is the Rams and the Colts. D is the Cowboys and the Giants. What are your picks? Let me know if you need to repeat.
Well, can't think it's the Giants because that would mean I would admit we suck.
Seattle and Texas is to kind of throw us off. I don't think either one has been around, unless the Texans count from the Oiler days too, if they count that history.
Well, I mean, Texas has been around since 03, so they would have probably the most at that point. I mean, they could. I'm saying.
So C was Rams Colts.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with that. I get a weird feeling it's Rams Colts.
What?
Yeah,
Rams
Colts.
I have not stumped the squad. How did you guys?
Yeah, we got a three-way
tie. So now what do we do?
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
So what do we do now?
Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck.
That's a good. That was a good guess, though. That was. I mean, like for real though. Like I tried. You know, what I was doing. I had at first. I had Browns, and then I had Rams, Colts. I was like, that would have gave it away easily.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know, but. Yeah, that was good. That was awesome, guys.
And with recent memory, with how good the Rams and Colts have been in the last decade or two, you wouldn't think they would have a lot of
Definitely a throw off. Yep.
Okay, so Jay,
what do we do?
You are the leader of Stump the Squad. What is the tiebreaker for the three-way tie?
I don't think we need a tiebreaker today. I think what we could do here is each one of us should take a minute. We're going a little overhead, but guys, thanks for tuning in with us for sure. If you're here,
for sure.
Most of the time we lose. We've been losing you guys after 3 minutes, but maybe when you see the repeat, you get to see what we're rounding about here. I think there's a lot to talk about this weekend. I think we're going to be kind of let down with what we are hoping to see in terms of how competitive some of these NBA series could have been.
Yeah.
So how about we just kick it to whether you have a big winner or a big loser this week? So how about we just do a minute each, and then we'll just pass on the torch. So who wants to start? Who wants to kick it off with that big winner?
You're the leader of this, so you tell us.
I'm the leader of this. All right. So John, take it away, my bro.
All right. So my biggest winner and loser this week. My winner, I said earlier, is going to be Steven Stamkos. Shout out to him, and having breaking the all-time points leader, beat Toronto and he also added to those points too. He had a goal and 2 assists in that game. So shout out to him. He's been dealing with injuries for mainly most of his career, but to see him fight and to see him come back the way he has over the past couple seasons. Shout out to him and to have almost 87 points, I think, this year is really impressive. And I think he had 87 last year. So my biggest loser, it was between two. And I won't say this. My biggest loser this week is the Syracuse Orange. And the reason why is because they have terminated their naming rights with Carrier. The air conditioning company there in Syracuse. So they have decided that they are going to take on a new name, and they're going to be the JMA Wireless, I believe, Arena, but I think it's called the JMA Wireless Dome. But
why do they make these names nobody can remember? The classics are so easy to just roll off the tongue.
They terminated. I think because Carrier eliminated pretty much most of their company. I could be wrong in Syracuse, but I'm sure my dad will probably chime in and let me know. But now they're called the JMA Wireless Dome, I believe. But that's my biggest loser because I grew up as at the Carrier Dome, and Pat and I will probably everyone will probably call it the Carrier Dome. It will be hard to say, hey, let's go up to the JMA Wireless Dome. What and I never knew what JMA Wireless is either. So it's not like Verizon or anything like that. So I would say that's my biggest loser of the week. Mike.
Yes.
Your turn.
So actually, it kind of works out that my winner and losers of the week work out to something I talked about earlier. So my winner of the week is the North Carolina Tar Heels because it was announced that Armando Bacot and Leaky Black are both coming back
for the 30th season.
At age 60 each, they are coming back, about equal with Jamie. They are both coming back for another year next year, so it's looking like the Heels may run it back because RJ Davis and Caleb Love will both also still be there. They were only sophomores this year. No Brady Manick, but I'm excited to see what the team has in store for next year, having come so close and Hubert Davis proving that he deserved this head coaching job. So I'm excited for that. My loser actually is Villanova, because unfortunately they have to say goodbye to one of the best college coaches of my generation, of our generation of college coaches, in Jay Wright. Two-time national champion. He was there for 21 years, the heart and soul of the Villanova Wildcats. And, you know, as much as I don't like that first one he won, I have to give credit where credit is due. He's a fantastic, phenomenal coach. Kyle Neptune coming over from a very successful year at Fordham in the Atlantic 10, a school that John and I are very familiar with down in New York City. Coached under Wright, he should pick up. It should be a lot like Roy Williams to Hubert Davis, in that should pick up right where Jay Wright left off. But yeah, just at least for the week, Villanova has to be a program in mourning, because they're not going to have their Hall of Fame head coach. So it kind of sucks.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Jay?
Well, it's something I teased with a little bit earlier. And biggest loser for sure is a name nobody knew before this week, by a kid named Owen Woodward, pitching for the Weatherford College team in Texas, who decided for some ungodly reason to spare the runner when he went around third, who hit a home run off him. It wasn't even a game-winning hit. Like he was. It looked personal. It looked really personal. Nobody has come out and said that there's any jargon, but there's no room in sports, even if somebody says something horrendous to you, for you to do that to someone who's defenseless. In the NFL, they've stopped that for reasons of kids getting hurt really bad, not just having bad whiplash or concussions, but you could have lifelong hurt, like lifelong injuries from something like that. So I hope the kid who got tackled is okay. The winning part of that is that he's going to be expelled for life from playing the game, and he should never, ever. You don't forgive some things. That is one thing you don't forgive. And kids, if anybody's watching who's young, or you have kids in the game, show them what you will never or should ever do in any sport. You should never lose your temper, and you should never resort to violence in a man like that. We spoke about the brawl in the Palace. That was a fan player thing. Players went at it. All right. So we've seen it happen before. We don't need to keep seeing these things happen. Honorary shout out to my boy Oscar Streetway for saying he's coming back to win a natty championship. We're going to end on a positive note. So somehow Shaden Sharp still doesn't know if he should come back and play for Kentucky. What are you thinking, kid? Come win a natty championship. Time for Kentucky to get back to the Final Four.
We'd have to sign with North Carolina to do that, but you know.
Did you know that Kentucky's now allergic to pelicans? So not peacocks.
Yeah.
And Pelicans, if you look at Anthony Davis.
You know what? The biggest winner might be every other team in the NBA right now, with Devin Booker being out for a month.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, him being out 4 weeks is definitely a killer. So, while I was talking about the draft, I want everyone to know on a side note that, as we close the show next week, we will be doing a special show from not from the draft, but Thursday at 7 p.m. we will be doing a show for the draft live on air, and we'll be going over picks. Tune in, comment, let us know your picks. Obviously, I have 3 picks in the first with the Philadelphia Eagles, so let's see how they go. And Jamie's Buccaneers, I think, has the one towards the end. So. Where we're going already. We're picking for this. We always need people who can
2 in the top 10. Let's go, because we stuck.
Hey, the draft in Vegas for the first time, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert, guys. We're going to Vegas next week. We're gonna be there.
And spoiler: Jamie bought our tickets. Yay!
What'd you say?
Please, Jamie, have old man Jade.
I'm here about your car extended warranty.
Hi, I'm a representative from Geico. I'd like to talk to you about your insurance on which car.
So stay tuned for updates on that. You'll be able to comment, join the show if you want to. We'll send you the invite, come on and join and see what you think of the picks. Boys, great weekend in sports. We got a great weekend coming up, and I can't wait for our NFL draft show here next Thursday at 7 p.m. So any last takes before we sign off?
Special show, boys. We're going to have Pat in the hat back. Hopefully we get our boy Mr. Cinco to make an appearance because he has a lot to say about his boys.
Well, it was a great show, boys. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. The squad is going to be out. We'll see you here next Thursday, and hope everyone has a great weekend.
Facebook, YouTube. Check us out, guys. Thank you.
See you.